Super Metroid is not just my second most favorite game of all time. It's also the second major YouTube video I've ever completed in my life. That was 5 years ago exactly today, and a lot has changed since then. Justin and Billy here! Come and get me, Nintendo of America! And mostly for the better, I might add, clearly. But what hasn't changed is how psychotically obsessed I still am with this game. And the original for the NES, Super Metroid and Metroid, along with Earthbound, is practically the national flag of my den. They really are a video gaming lens through which I look at most things. The universe? Sure. The creative process? Absolutely. The human condition? Yeah, let's throw that one in too. That one sounds pretty good. And if any of this sounds a little too heavy for you, or perhaps a little too ham-handed, considering that I am, in fact, for all intensive purposes, talking about a bunch of 8-bit and 16-bit children's games, well, on one hand, I understand that, but on the other, I don't know what to tell you other than the fact that you're in the wrong place, pal. If you don't like a little existential philosophy with your internet sugar pops every now and then, this is most definitely not the channel for you. P.S. This video is clearly not about Super Metroid 2 because there's no such thing as a Super Metroid 2, you dummy. I'm not clickbaiting you. You're just a dummy-dumb. You're the mayor of Stupid Town, and you're gonna have to live with that for the rest of your life. Right, this video is called Super Metroid 2 because it's the second video I've made about Super Metroid. Thank you very much. So why the heck would I ever want to make yet another video about Super Metroid, a Super Metroid 2, as it were? Well, because 5 years ago, there was so much more that I actually wanted to cover. There was so much more that I wanted to talk about and tackle, but back then I simply didn't feel I had the YouTube savvy / mental articulation to properly pull it off without looking like a great big horse's ass. But good news for everybody listening, now I do.
Back with that, buckaroos!
But in the meantime, about that old video, first off, I still feel that I still nailed down just about everything that is important and profound to me about Super Metroid and the Met back then. I talked about how I thought of Metroid and Super Metroid as two of the most underappreciated horror gaming classics of all time, that they were not just classics, they were horror classics. Even though they did in fact come from little kitty Nintendo land, and even though there's hardly anything remotely scary in those games, look at those googly eyes. Save for Big Bad Mother Brain herself at the very end. Blink, you bitch! But like I need to tell you, but the horror atmosphere in those games is sublime beyond compare, but even more importantly so, and more terrifying, is that you are entirely alone for those games, aren't you? Nobody to help you or talk to you or nothing. And don't tell me about those stupid goats or that ostrich thingy. Samus is crazy, and those things are just figments of her imagination. I swear, they're all as real as Tyler Durden and nothing more. No townsfolk. No mushroom people, not even a Mei Ling or a Sheva. And there's nothing, absolutely nothing more terrifying and frightening to a human being save getting eaten alive by a saber-toothed tiger or a zombie apocalypse than being alone. We fucking hate being alone. And we're neurologically built to associate loneliness and death to be the exact same thing. Because for most of human history, if you were alone, if you did get ostracized from the group for being a little too weird, nerd, it almost always inevitably led to your death. Bear! But even scarier still than how alone you are in those games, deep below the surface of planet Zebes, is how well Metroid and Super Metroid encapsulate and illustrate how technically, in one way or another, well, we're all alone all the time anyways. In our heads, frankly. Because Metroid and Super Metroid are fantastic metaphors for the human mind itself. And how truly lonely and scary of a never-ending maze, of a labyrinth, it can be down there. And if you don't believe me how truly scary our brain spaces can really be, go talk to her. Oh my god, she's a fucking space brain. She's a scary fucking space brain. The last boss of these two games is a scary fucking space brain because our brain spaces can be really fucking scary. Metroid and Super Metroid show this all in fantastic detail. How our minds really are these never-ending labyrinths below the surface, filled with all sorts of scary spook monsters that are often of our own creation, I might add. Get 'em, Max Sterner. Which is also why so many of us are so fucking shallow. Because most of us mentally like to stay on our surfaces. We don't like to set a single foot down there, do we? But the beauty and the real true power of Metroid and Super Metroid is, and I'm very proud I put this on a video 5 years ago, is that these games do teach us and let us play and experience for ourselves firsthand that, yes, it can be pretty scary down there. Getting to know yourself, self-discovery, self-exploration usually is. But if just like Samus, you go down there on an adventure to kick names and take ass, to bravely go down there and venture deep below the planet's surface, not only is there a buttload of treasure down there to discover, but abilities to unlock. In short, Metroid and Super Metroid teaches us that through gaming, there is unspeakable amounts of potential inside each of us all, but we have to be willing to go down there and dig for it, to fight for it. You never know what's in there in your own personal planet Zebes until you go down there and look, you coward. And I still find this all to be incredibly profound and encouraging indeed, but after 5 years of me going on my own personal mental journey of sorts, while making an assload of YouTube videos and tirelessly attempting to perfect my novel, The Dungeon, which covers a lot of the stuff I've talked about throughout all of my video work. Plus, I audio recorded a bunch of chapters and put them on my YouTube page, so if you want to listen to them, God bless you, I'll dance at your wedding. After spending an assload of time alone inside my own personal planet Zebes, deep within, in my noggin, I feel I've found something bigger and more exciting and interesting and hopefully more profound than what I found 5 years ago today. But to do that next time, I'm going to need you to join me into 2 more horror classics. 2 more classic labyrinths. First off, the horror classic that is Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, and then after which we have to go into the original labyrinth. The first of them all, one of Western culture's oldest and ancient of legends, of stories, and that is the story of Theseus and the Minotaur. And I know that on the surface, a video game, a movie, and one of Western culture's oldest myths may seem to have little in common together at first on the surface. But trust me, together, if we all courageously delve deeper together, we will find, in one way or another, all the stuff we love is connected. And it's all trying to give us something that we also need to emotionally survive this life. And that is a clue. All of these things are trying to give us a clue. I'm Justin M. Bailey, and if you haven't figured it out already by this video, or the one 5 years ago, or the name for fuck's sake, I am psychotically obsessed with these games, and for a very good reason. So I hope you'll all come join me again next year. But in the meantime, if anybody wants to read my fucking book, if anybody wants to listen to some audio chapters on my page, God bless you. Awesome. Fucking sweet. Because I'm a writer by nature. That's what I do. And for these past 5 years, I've made a bunch of YouTubes as a way to let people get to know me. So that when I tell people I'm a writer who is psychotically obsessed with gaming above almost anything else, I really mean it when I say it. So thank you all so much, and happy holidays. Bye.